There's a chance you've been playing the wrong brawler for months, maybe years, and the weird part is, you probably wouldn't know because most people don't really choose their main properly. Usually, something happens. You get absolutely destroyed by a Mortis. Not normal destroyed, I mean this guy dashes through your entire team, somehow avoids every shot, kills 3 people, grabs everything, and leaves with 43 health. And you sit there thinking, yeah, that's me. That is who I am now. So you unlock Mortis, you upgrade him, you play your first match, and very quickly discover that the Mortis you watched and the Mortis you own appear to be 2 completely different products. His Mortis is an assassin. Your Mortis is a delivery service. You personally transport yourself directly to the enemy team every few seconds, and I think that's how a lot of us choose brawlers. Not because they actually suit us, because we like the idea of being good with them, which is a very different thing. So there's a simple test. Think about your main. Do you actually enjoy playing them, or do you enjoy watching good players use them? Because there are brawlers I absolutely love watching. Then I touch them myself, and suddenly they lose every known ability. People dodge with them. I don't dodge. People make calculated attacks. I see somebody with low health and my brain immediately goes, get him, no strategy. No concern for the other 2 enemies standing directly behind him. Just an ancient instinct. Low health, must chase. 5 seconds later, I'm dead in a completely different part of the map from my teammates. That's the first really uncomfortable sign. You might love the fantasy of your brawler more than the actual brawler. Piper is another perfect example. A great Piper player looks disgusting. They sit at maximum range, calmly removing half of somebody's health every few seconds. Shot, hit, another shot, hit. Some Edgar finally loses patience and jumps on her. She escapes, turns around, hits him again. Everything looks effortless. Then you play Piper, miss, wall, miss. Somebody starts walking toward you and suddenly this has become an emergency. And after enough games, you have to ask yourself something. Do I actually like Piper? Or do I like what Piper looks like when somebody much better than me is playing Piper? Because those are not the same relationship. And there's another test that might tell you even more. What does your brain naturally want to do during a match? Because every player has instincts. Some people are patient, they're happy controlling space, waiting, watching, slowly forcing the other team into a bad position. Then there are people who see an enemy at 1,100 health and immediately abandon every sensible plan they've had for the last 30 seconds. Again, not naming anybody, but I know him personally. And if your natural instinct is aggression, some brawlers are going to feel like freedom. Others are going to feel like you're arguing with yourself for 3 minutes. You know you should wait. Your teammate is respawning. You have 1 ammo. The enemy has control. Everything in the situation is telling you, please, for once, do absolutely nothing. Then somebody appears with low health, and your body makes the decision before management is consulted. You're already chasing them. Now imagine trying to main a brawler that needs patience when your brain works like that. Every match becomes exhausting. You're not fighting 3 enemies, you're fighting 4, and one of them is you. That's why I think people ask the wrong question when choosing a brawler. They ask, who's strongest? Who's broken right now? Who do pros use? Who has the highest skill ceiling? Instead of asking something much more useful, what kind of idiot am I naturally? Because that actually matters. If you love rushing straight into people, Edgar might feel completely natural. That doesn't mean every jump is going to be good. Some Edgar players seem to believe Shelly's super is a rumor, but at least the brawler is working with your instinct. If you like keeping people uncomfortable without immediately committing to anything, Crow can feel amazing. You poke, back away, come back, annoy somebody, leave again, basically become the reason they stop enjoying their evening. If you love controlling space from behind cover, maybe a thrower makes sense. Although the moment somebody reaches you, you may discover that your entire defensive plan was apparently just screaming internally. The point is not that one brawler is better. It's that some brawlers make your natural decisions useful, and some make your natural decisions punishable by death. You can usually feel the difference. There are brawlers where every match feels like a driving lesson. Where do I stand? When do I attack? Should I use my gadget? Do I have enough ammo? Is that enemy in range? Should I push? Should I retreat? Why is there suddenly a Kenji inside my body? Every single decision feels manual. Then you randomly pick some brawler you barely use, and everything gets quieter. You just play. You move naturally. You attack without having a committee meeting first. You know roughly when somebody is vulnerable. You understand the distance you want to keep. You are still bad. Very important distinction. But you are bad comfortably. And honestly, that might be one of the biggest clues, because the right brawler doesn't always make you look incredible. Sometimes they just make the game feel less exhausting. Here's another test, and I think this one is surprisingly revealing. After you lose badly, who do you switch to? Not because of a quest, not because they're meta, not because somebody told you they're strong. I mean when you've just lost 4 matches, you're irritated, and you want one normal game before your trophy count requires police involvement. Who do you pick? Because that brawler might tell you more about your real playstyle than your highest trophy brawler does. Everybody has one. The emergency brawler. The person you call when things have gone wrong. You lose with some difficult brawler for 20 minutes. Then eventually you say, right, enough of this, and pick somebody else. Suddenly you're comfortable again. That's interesting, because why is that brawler your safe choice? Why do you trust them when you're annoyed? Why do you feel like you can actually play the game again? Maybe your main is the brawler you brag about, but your emergency brawler is the one who actually understands you. That is not a healthy relationship. And now things get even worse, because maybe you already know your main doesn't fit you. You just don't want to leave. You've played 700 matches with them. You've maxed them, bought the skin, maybe got the title. You've spent months telling everybody this is your favorite brawler. Changing now would mean admitting something, so you stay. You lose 5 games, bad teammates, lose another 3. Matchmaking, drop 50 trophies. Supercell clearly has something against you personally. Then you finally win 1 match, and immediately, see? I knew we still had something. No, you won 1 game, calm down. This is sunk cost in Brawl Stars. The more time you've spent with a brawler, the harder it becomes to admit somebody else might suit you better. And skins make this even worse. Once gems are involved, suddenly this becomes a financial commitment. You're not just using the wrong brawler anymore, you have assets. You paid for this relationship. Now you're making it work. You could lose 8 games in a row and still be sitting there thinking, yeah, but look at the skin though. But here's where I think people get trapped for the longest. You keep saying, once I get better, this brawler will finally feel right. Once my aim improves, once I learn the matchups, once my movement gets better, once I understand when to push, once I stop jumping directly onto Shelly as Edgar. That last one may take several years, and obviously practice matters. You shouldn't play Mortis 3 times, get destroyed 3 times, and immediately conclude that destiny has spoken. But there is a difference between this brawler is difficult and this brawler feels wrong. One makes you want another game. The other makes you look at the defeat screen like you've just finished unpaid overtime. And after enough games, there's a question worth asking. How long are you supposed to spend turning yourself into the kind of player this brawler requires? Because maybe you're solving the problem backwards. Instead of asking, how do I change myself enough to make this brawler work? Maybe occasionally ask, which brawler already works with the player I am? And there's another test I really like. Which brawler do you forgive? Because losing with different brawlers does not feel the same. There are brawlers where I lose and immediately want another game. I know what went wrong. I almost did something stupidly good. I made one mistake. I want to try again. Then there are brawlers where I lose once and I'm already considering doing something productive with my life. That difference matters. If you only enjoy your main when you're winning, you may not actually enjoy your main. You enjoy winning. Completely different thing. Your real main is probably someone you can lose with and still think, again. And weirdly, the biggest clue might happen by complete accident. Maybe you get a quest. Maybe you're bored. Maybe you finally accepted that whatever you've been doing for the last 40 minutes clearly isn't working. So you pick somebody you haven't touched in ages. Not your favorite, not maxed, maybe you don't even like their skin. One match, you win. Okay, could be luck. Another match, you play well again. Now you're suspicious. Third match, and suddenly you notice something. You're not even thinking that much. You know where you want to stand. You know when to attack. You know when to leave. You're not forcing anything. And then comes the mildly offensive realization. This random brawler you barely cared about feels more natural than the brawler you've been calling your main for 6 months. That is a terrible feeling, because now you have evidence. And maybe that's the real way to find your main. Not the brawler you think is coolest. Not your highest trophies. Not the one with the most expensive skin. Not the one a pro player makes look completely unfair. Maybe your real main is simply the brawler that makes your natural decisions good decisions. If you're aggressive, they reward aggression. If you're patient, they reward patience. If your aim is questionable, maybe they don't require you to hit shots from another postal code. If your entire tactical philosophy is running directly toward people and hoping something happens, there is probably a brawler willing to support you emotionally through that. And none of this means you should only use easy brawlers or never challenge yourself. Difficult brawlers can be incredibly fun. Learning somebody complicated can be the entire point, but your main should probably feel like somewhere you return to, not somewhere you're serving a sentence. So forget trophies for a second. Forget tier lists. Forget the meta. Forget what somebody on YouTube told you was S tier. Imagine nobody could see which brawler you used. Nobody could see your trophies. Nobody cared whether your brawler was difficult. You weren't trying to impress anybody. You just opened Brawl Stars because you wanted to have fun. Who would you pick? Now think about something even more revealing. When everything is going badly, who do you trust? Who do you enjoy losing with? Who makes the game feel natural? Who do you keep coming back to when you're not trying to prove anything? Because that might be your real main. And if the answer is different from the brawler you've spent the last 6 months calling your main, that's unfortunate. But at least now you know. So tell me who you currently main. And after everything we just went through, are you still sure?